Our reading and focus today is Fast Food Spirituality, and our reading today is by Pandit Dasab, and it was actually published in 2012. So, too often our results-oriented mood spills over into our spiritual practices. We want to get as much as possible, as quickly as possible, from as little commitment as possible. But purifying the soul of greed, anger, envy, and pride has to take its own sweet time. Americans do not like to waste time. We've got so much going on all the time. Even the children have incredibly busy lives. We live in a culture where we like to get things done very fast. We don't like waiting around for anything. On the freeways, we have the fast lanes and the carpool lanes. In supermarkets, we have the express checkout lanes. And of course, we have our famous fast food culture, where food is served seconds after you're done paying for it. To facilitate our fast-paced culture, many establishments provide drive-through windows, so you don't even have to get out of the car. These are just a few of the many examples that are out there. Too often, our results-oriented mood also spills over into our spiritual practices. We want to get as much as possible, as quickly as possible, from as little a commitment as possible. I picked up on this after the meditation sessions I lead, where people get a glimpse into how unpredictable and completely scattered their minds are. Even though everyone tries their level best to keep the mind focused, the mind escapes to a thought, a plan, a conversation, or a fantasy without the individual even realizing that it went somewhere. And who's had that happen? I know I have many times a day. This experience often inspires them to ask me, how long did it take for you to control your mind? And my response every single time is, I'm still trying. And he's a well-known meditation coach, and so he does a teacher. It seems as if we have a need to accomplish something. We're always trying to reach the finish line so that we can feel a sense of completion and move on to something else. However, meditation and spirituality are not quite like that. The other day, someone wrote me a question on Facebook. What is the fastest way for one to remove one's bad karma? Oh, that's a good question. I responded by saying, I wish there was a fast way to burn off karma. The purpose of karma is not only to give us a reaction for our positive or negative actions, but also to teach us valuable lessons about life, our character and behavior, and our interactions with others. These things in life usually can't be rushed. Otherwise, we wouldn't learn from them. There's a beautiful passage in the Puranic text of Hinduism that wonderfully demonstrates the method by which spiritual advancement is achieved. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, conduct, and perseverance in practice. So the first point of emphasis in this verse is there's genuine spiritual advancement has to be made in slow degrees. It's not possible to jump over or skip steps. Each and every step is meant to help us confront our inflamed egos and overcome our weaknesses. Too often we are ready to fire up to engage in a certain practice and go full force for some time. We've seen that. And then drop the practice like a hot potato. They say in Jersey language, hot potato. We drop that. Hence, this verse is recommending a slow, steady pace. The next step is constant endeavor and perseverance in practice. Even if we feel discouraged because of what we see in our ego or lack of enthusiasm towards a practice, we need to find the strength to keep pushing forward. Confronting our ego and acknowledging our shortcomings can be very difficult, and too often it's easier to walk away than proceed us forward. This is where associating with other like-minded practitioners can give us, the strength to keep moving forward. So that was taken in part. There's more, but I think that's enough. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Institute and fast food spirituality, or whatever you want to call it. And this came up actually over the past year, but I really thought perhaps we should discuss this. So I'm going to go through this and please engage with me. So what do you think of when you think of fast food?
McDonald's.
Me too. You know, or Culver's up in Palm Bay is delicious, I'll tell you what. But it's, it's a quick fried, usually French fries, things like that. So I'm going to present some perspectives to think about, food for thought, about fast food. There's also, when I was overseas, they had some fast food. It wasn't worth eating most of the time. But I found my fast food turned out to be different kinds of nuts, banana, grapes, different types of fruits. It's fast. You maybe wash it and clean it off. But then I started to substitute these nuts, these bananas, like bread with jam, for my whole meal. And yes, I did lose weight. I was working, so this was not a healthy diet because I wasn't intentionally eating it as a fast food or eating it as nourishment. I was eating because I was stressed. And it's easier to pick it, like French fries, you just pick, or nuts. And then I realized that even a good fast food is not healthy. Okay, so what about spirituality? How does that work? And this is where, I've been talking to a lot of people about, we just, ISDTC just went on Instagram about 6 months ago. And we've got Twitter, and we got all this, and I'm seeing, and with Facebook, all the memes and everybody doing we're not on TikTok, I'm not doing that, but so are these quick fast food spiritual quotes, are they healthy or not? Can they be healthy or not? And so I started talking to people, what do you think about this? Because they pick us up. We may see something that inspires us, but sometimes you see from one person like 20 of them, boom, 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 boom. And is that healthy or not? And so in talking with people, what we discussed is, yes, this can be healthy for the community if these types of things open the door to people who would not normally focus on a more spiritual side. This opens the door. And I've seen that trending among people that you may think are focused intellectually or physically or career-wise, very logical, that people are slowly gravitating to more of a reflective spiritual path or including that in their lives. People one would never think they would become vulnerable and share or express themselves. So yes, I would say that in some cases, this quick and fast spiritual injections throughout the day can be good for the community. But I think somebody did an experiment where they ate McDonald's for like 6 months, and the outcome wasn't nice. Their cholesterol had gone up, they had gained weight, they were basically unhealthy, and they lost that energy. So that's the same thing with spiritual. Do we really want to, whether it's good or bad food, do we really want to replace our diet, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual, with these quick substitutes? And I would say the answer is no. Just like the body needs a balanced nutrition system, even though eating nuts is healthy, but eating nuts and bananas only is not so healthy, you know. So what causes this? So my thing is, okay, if we have people who are practicing on the spiritual journey, they're not new, they're not just being introduced to these concepts, but they're active. What is going on that step by step they're going into like a spiritual fast food path or habit? What's causing that? Yes.
I think with social media, that much of it is a facade,
Mm-hmm.
and people only put up the good things in their life, and that's very difficult for people who might be in a bad place at that time. So I think when someone is honest or puts a quote up there or something, I think it's helpful, because I know myself, sometimes when I'm down and I see a quote, I think, okay, come back to center.
Yes.
So I do think it's helpful. I don't know that you're going to get somebody to start a spiritual practice over it, but maybe you'll uplift them for a moment.
Yes, but where do you go from that moment? So that's what I'm going to cover right now. And when I awakened this morning, I already decided this. I got my Sunday weekly email from the University of Sedona, and they were talking about spiritual concentration. And I thought, boy, that just fits in. That, like an athlete or even a regular person, our muscles can get atrophy, right? If we do not exercise, we can get atrophy, and it can happen pretty quickly. And let's say we're busy, or we have something going on in our lives, or we don't have something, and we start either that physical, okay, I'll go tomorrow and take a walk, or I'll do this tomorrow. No, I'll do it today, but later, and later comes and we don't do it. The same thing with spiritual practice, that we lose our concentration, our spiritual concentration, and then we get atrophy step by step, and it happens. I know we have someone here that knows that it happens, and it can become a medical issue. And it happens, and it can become a spiritual or mental issue. And it happens slowly. We don't even know it's happening, Like when we change habits, it seems like when we're trying to change it consciously and subconsciously, it's such an effort. But we work hard towards it. But when we start changing our habits or letting go of things, we just do it one at a time. Right? I know I've had to really focus hard on getting back on a good diet because I had lost so much weight after being ill. I thought I could eat anything. And I was eating anything and still losing. But then it got to the point was I'm not eating healthy stuff. All of a sudden bread came back in my diet. And then jam, then ice cream, and all these things, and then fried foods, and like, Okay, but it happens over time. It's not like not all of a sudden. Rarely is it all of a sudden that it just cuts off and we don't even know what's happening. The same thing is with spiritual concentration. So what can we do about that? I believe most people, especially those here this morning, have maintained and even grow their spiritual and physical and intellectual. It's important. Okay, once in a while we go off, here and there. But what we can do is support people who are new or who are really become atrophy if they want to support them to gain that muscle back. And how can we do that? There's a million ways we can, just to be a listening friend. And one way, if we want to, is to go back to the very beginning, to do a 5-minute meditation where we focus on the candle, or we focus on a flower, or we focus on the tree, and take 5 minutes. Then the next day, or later that day, we make it 7 minutes. We don't need to do an hour of meditation, but we need to exercise our concentration. And then when we do see a meme or a quote or a video, we can take one out of the whole day that we like the best, and maybe the next day actually focus on that. Does that make sense? I really like this from yesterday. And you think about it, you sleep on it. So for today, I'm going to focus on this specific one instead of going through 20, 30 a day. Take one that you like, and you can focus it on a few times a day for a few minutes. Just focus on the words or the thoughts or the feelings that it brings up, and why are you connected to that? Why does that make you feel good or make you feel or think? Because it's a balance, and focus on that. So what I'd like to do is end about time, because how much time we're spending on fast food spirituality, or do we focus quality time on spiritual concentration? This is from Virgo Mortensen. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from a horse master. He told me to go slow to go fast. Okay, let me repeat that. To go slow to go fast. I think that applies to everything in life. We live as if there aren't enough hours in the day. But if we do each thing calmly and carefully, we will get it done much quicker and with much less stress. Thank you.